The two-pot retirement system for pensioners in South Africa is now officially in place, and administrators are expected to have a tough job dealing with significant volumes of withdrawal requests from members. The much-touted Retirement Forum has been preceded by extensive planning, including the design and implementation of the new systems by administrators to enable a transition to the two-pot system. And under the two-pot system, a third of pension fund members' future retirement savings will be allocated to a savings component, and two-thirds of their contributions will be allocated to a retirement component. This morning, we're joined by Zanelle Sabella, who is the COSATU spokesperson. Thank you so much, Zanelle, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
So we understand that the two-pot retirement system is a new system that allows people to save for retirement in two separate pots. We're looking at retirement and savings. Now that it's in place, how effective will this be for the people to save?
It's going to be very easy for them to save because you'll know that it's a completely new system. Before this, there were a few problems. Problems with workers actually resigning whenever they found that they just needed money and they didn't have any money, and perhaps maybe they had a lot of debt that they needed to pay and they couldn't on their income. So people would actually resign from their jobs so they could access their retirement fund. And when that happened, then is okay, so they would get access to that money and be able to pay the debt that was due. But then they would also have a problem now finding a new job. And if they didn't find that job, they would then find themselves unemployed, meaning they would then have to deplete the savings that they had gotten out of the retirement fund. And then that would leave them, like out of hand, like not having enough money to retire. So it was unsustainable. And this is why then, as COSATU, we're the ones who first proposed the two-pot retirement system in Parliament. And it has been a long walk because the first proposal was made in May 2020. And now only on the 1st of September did it become effective. So it's been a very long time coming, and finally it is here.
But there are some people who are actually questioning how this two-pot system will run, saying that it could be cumbersome in terms of the volume of demand and the verification process. So how easy will it be for people to access their money when they need it?
It's, the industry has had time to actually prepare for it. They've actually, as much as they were part of the negotiations, along with government, to make sure that we got ready for this particular time, and then comply with legislation. So things are put in place. Some insurance companies even make it easy for people to apply for this withdrawal using WhatsApp. So it's those things that, and then most of it is online, like you apply online. And it's not like it's the first time, because the pension fund, a retirement industry is used to these withdrawals when people retire or when people resign from their jobs. So they know exactly how to do it. And so right now it is all systems go. Although you're saying that, they thought maybe there would be a lot of volumes, which it's looking like it is going to be like that, because yesterday was the first day. It started, this law came into effect on the 1st of September, which was a Sunday, but yesterday was a Monday. And the government pension fund actually has said that there were over 1,000 applications wanting to withdraw. So that's the thing. And so that's the other thing. The other thing is, you could, if you have an existing pension fund, is you can withdraw from it 10% of what's in the existing pension fund, up to a maximum of 30,000. So indications from the government pension fund is that people are actually applying for the maximum, that maximum 30,000. And so from those 1,000 applications, they've had, requests to withdraw 30 million already.
Okay, so now we understand that there are combinations of taxes and administrative fees associated with withdrawals, and that can significantly reduce the amount a member can ultimately receive. So will the highlighted tax incentives actually, be partial, or would it be total? And by the time people will be receiving their monies, would that be consequential in terms of what they need to use the money for?
Okay. So they will be taxed. It will be taxed. It will be taxed at an individual's tax bracket, which is different from how it was taxed before in the old system, because in the old system, everyone across the board was charged an 18% tax rate, which worked well for someone who is a high earner, but didn't work so well for someone who maybe is a clothing factory worker, because everyone was paying the same tax rate. So right now, if you earn very little, chances are you are beneath the tax threshold. And when that is the case, then you won't be paying any tax. And someone who is a high earner obviously will have to. It's a progressive tax system. So someone who is a high earner will pay a lot more tax. But then the admin fees, we tried as COSATU, as the federation, to fight that there shouldn't be any admin fees. And then the government pension fund is not going to be charging any admin fees for that withdrawal. However, some of the pension funds will be, charging that admin fee, which ranges from maybe about 250 rands to about 500 rands. So in terms of the withdrawal, people, everyone, it's an individual choice. And what we are advising workers is, just because you can now have access to the savings from the savings pot doesn't mean you have to necessarily get it. Only take it if you need it, if you are in dire need for it and you have no other option, then you can access it. If you don't need it, however, then do not take it. Do not take it. Just keep it in your, in your retirement savings.
Now,
And the more it stays in there, the more it grows. And if you never touch it until retirement, then you have a lot more money to use when you do finally retire.
but people still feel that the charges. You're talking about 2,500 bands is still too much, with a country
No,
having a headline
250
inflation of
rands.
about 4.9%. And we're looking at 1/3 for the savings, 2/3 for the retirements. In terms of what we pulled out of the monthly pays. I mean, at the end of the day, by the time
No,
you
no, no.
look at all
Sorry,
those
say that again.
removals, when you look at all those removals,
Sorry. Start from the beginning. I didn't quite get that.
what did you say?
Please start from the beginning. I didn't quite catch that. Are you
Oh, okay.
talking
So I,
about
I
the money
said
that?
I'm looking at all the removals from individuals' monthly pay, and you said that service charge would be around 2,500, depending,
Mm-mm.
and the fact that okay, so I'll get clarification on that, but just let me land in terms of the service charge, and 1/3 for savings, 2/3 for the retirement, for those two pots. By the time you remove all those from what a person earns, don't you think that what will be left for the person to spend at a time would be, lesser than what the person would need in terms of running his personal obligations?
Okay. So let me run through it. So
Okay.
when we talk about you have access to the money in your savings pot, uh, this will be money at this point will be money if you had an existing pension fund. Uh, 10% of what was in your pension fund on the 31st of August, 10% of that, up to a maximum of 30,000 rands, will be moved to what we call a savings pot.
Okay.
And once a tax year, you are allowed to withdraw from that savings pot only once a year. And that's when you withdraw, that's when you will be taxed at your marginal tax rate. And then you would have to pay that admin fee, which is 250 rands, not
Okay.
2,500.
Okay.
So,
250 rand.
and that's we put that aside, but because now we will continue in this new retirement system. We are continuing to save for our retirement. What happens is, say you are saving 3,000 rands towards your retirement. What then happens is when that money comes through to the retirement, to the retirement company that you are a member of, they will take 1,000 rands of that and put it in the savings pot, and 2,000 rands will go into the retirement pot. So the retirement pot you are not supposed to touch. You don't access the retirement pot
Yeah.
until you go into retirement. However, once a year you can dip into the savings pot and use that money for whatever purposes you need. And also at this point, because the system is just starting, you are limited to withdraw up to 30,000 rands.
Okay.
But in the second year of this new two-pot retirement system, you will be able to take uh, all your savings out of your savings pot,
Okay.
so long as in the savings pot you have 2,000 rand.
Okay, Zanel, thank you so much for the education. We really appreciate that. Zanel Sabella Kosato, spokesperson, who's nice talking to you.